Hello again! If you've been around with the game since 2021, you may have heard of a little rumor. The infamous PSO2's successor is coming in 2026. We'll use NFTs rumor, though people usually forget that last part. I always found this rumor rather unbelievable on face value alone, and a lot of it stems from misinformation, so today, I plan to clear things up. First of all, the successor to PSO2 is already out. It's called New Genesis. You should play it! It's pretty good. I brought up this interview before, but during the launch window of NGS, Debunking Online interviewed Hiro Arai, who stated that NGS is essentially PSO3, but because they made it an update to PSO2, rather than a standalone game, due to players being too attached to their cosmetic items, they instead went with a hard reboot of PSO2 and called it New Genesis. So really, NGS is PSO3 in all but name. And if you think the concerns of the developers are misplaced, go to the comment section of the Japanese NGS reveal trailer. You'll find a ton of players being concerned whenever, or not their cosmetic items will transfer to the new game. Additionally, the number one reason why English-speaking PSO2 JP players don't want to leave JP servers for the global ones is their attachment to their cosmetic items. They just don't want to rebuild their entire wardrobe from scratch, which sucks because a decent chunk of my friends stayed on JP, and I wish I could play with them again, but they don't wanna, and they're justified in doing so. You may think this isn't a valid reason, but that's like your opinion, man. So with that established, let's see what the rumor actually says. This rumor originates from the website SEGA Bits, written by George. The rumor comes from Makino180. We will check out who that guy is in a moment. But for now, let's actually read the rumor itself, shall we? New Genesis will only be supported for 5 more years. This was written in December 2021, so technically that means the end of service should come at the end of 2026, right? Phantasy Star Crew's 3rd division is in the planning stages of the next super game and is aimed to be finished in 5 years. So, there is a lot of wrong about this sentence, but let's continue for now. Phantasy Star Online veteran Satoshi Sakai will spearhead the project. Is that so? Did anyone actually bother to read the 2021 credits to the end? Because it feels like people saw Hamazaki's name and immediately stopped reading. Plans are to make the next super game running on Microsoft Azure cloud servers. Yeah, that checks out. SEGA is thinking of using NFT blockchain technology for its monetization to prolong value and wants to spearhead the future of gacha games, which will implement a possible SNS distribution of virtual items. Ah yes, you can tell this was written in 2021. Hey Ubisoft, how are those NFTs working out for you? Initial budget for this super game is 5 times the budget of normal SEGA AAA games. Wow, that's incredible. I wonder why. Foreshadowing is a literary device. The main audience for the new super game is the Western audience. Makes sense with the facts we do know, but we will get to that in a minute. So, that's a lot to take in. Now that I laid out all of it, let's go through it point by point and see every single problem with this report. Buckle up, because I laughed my ass off when I did even the tiniest amount of research. First of all, hindsight is 2020. Clearly, NGS is not going to end in 2026. The recent roadmap revealed that we're about to start a new story arc with new chapters releasing every 4 months. This is equivalent to PSO2, beginning a new story arc with Episode 4, and that story arc didn't conclude until Episode 6. Secondly, it just doesn't make sense to sunset the game so early, and it'll face the same issue of players not wanting to abandon their cosmetic items, except this time, instead of 9 years of sunk cost fallacy, we're looking at 14 years of it. Then there is also the level cap, which is nowhere close to level 200, a franchise tradition with PSO2 being a rare exception of not following it. So that bullet point requires you to blindly hate NGS and ignore every hint about the game not being over to be remotely believable. Next up, let's talk about Phantasy Star Crew's 3rd division. or rather SEGA's third development division, which Phantasy Star Crew is part of. Yeah, George got this part completely on its head. At the end of 2020, SEGA merged SEGA Games and SEGA Interactive to create SEGA Corporation, which it is to this day. This brought a major restructuring within the company. Division 3 consists of members from the former Studio Japan and Asia 3, 4, and 5, and is led by Yuya Kimura. Hey, I know that guy. It's our series producer. So, already a major red flag to the credibility of this report if they mix up fundamental aspects of the company like this. And this mistake is baffling because by the time this report came out, SEGA Division 3 already had a second game under its belt. Now, what is a super game? If we go to the SEGA Careers website, we can actually get the information ourselves. Oh, hello there, Kimura-san. Let's see. SEGA's latest endeavor involves creating super games, online-based AAA titles on a global scale. Wait a minute, super games? As in plural. Something is already not adding up, folks. Allow me to pull the curtains and reveal these secret super games for you. They are PSO2, New Genesis, Hatsune Miku, Colorful Stage, a reboot of Jet Set Radio, and a reboot of Crazy Taxi. These are the 4 super games that the 3rd Division is currently working on. Of these 4, New Genesis and Hatsune Miku have already been released in 2021, meaning that Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi, which were announced at the end of 2023, are likely scheduled for a late 2026 release, and are very likely going to be live service games, which aren't cheap to make, hence the high budget. Because that's what super games ultimately are. They're SEGA's buzzword for live service games, just like Ubisoft's buzzword quadruple A games. It genuinely means nothing. Anyway, let's continue. In the recent issue of P-Spec, Satoshi Sakai stated he's no longer involved in the direct development scene, and now essentially has a senior pencil pusher position as a brand director. Additionally, he's slowly approaching the retirement age of 65, so giving him a massive project like that, which he would have to support for an entire decade after launch, would be unwise. At some point, you gotta let the kids do the work. The next couple of points do line up with SEGA's 3rd Division mission statement, except for the NFT part, of course. Only 2 years after this rumor came out, there have been reports that over 95% of all NFT collections had zero monetary value. Nowadays, NFTs feel like a filler arc in the cryptocurrency anime, and people skip it on a rewatch. So, that was the rumor dissected. Overall, I'm not really impressed with George's reporting here. But we're not done yet. Let's check the comment section, which has a whole one comment. Wow! No credible sources. Is just an NFT bro trying to drum up hype and controversy to try to get the community on board to push SEGA to do NFTs. This article is lies and BS. You know what? That is a good point. What even is the source? Always check the source before making an opinion on a rumor of an article you have only read the title of. This entire article is credited to a tweet made by Makino180, who goes by Kisaragi Suika these days. In this tweet, we see 2 slides from SEGA Sammy's fiscal year report presented out of context, and concluding that Sakai-san is somehow involved. Though funnily enough, they refer to him by his derogatory nickname, which, if you want to know why Japanese players didn't like Sakai back in the day, I recommend you to watch this video I made on the episode 5 Backlash, and how it influenced New Genesis's development. But who is this guy anyway? He's not a SEGA insider or anything. He's just a dude making assumptions, and NFTs aren't even mentioned anywhere. Why was this baseless speculation blown up into a rumor article, George? Were news that slow back in December 2021, that you had to write something, anything, out of a random tweet? This is really sloppy journalism. I'm so disappointed in you, George. I hope this clears up everything about this rumor. But you may be wondering, so if NGS isn't going to be sunset by the end of 2026, then what's the plan? In my opinion, and this is simply how I see it, as someone who was with this game for over a decade, running a live service game requires less developers than actually developing one. So once the Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi reboots are finished, that's when I believe the NGS successor might enter planning stages. So late 2026, basically. If this successor will take 4 to 5 years to develop, then that would mean that NGS is likely not going to be sunset until 2030 or 2031, which would give it 9 to 10 years of life, a much more realistic lifespan considering PSO2 also lived for 9 long years. Anything else is just baseless doom posting. Even Google's crappy Gemini realizes this, which should tell you something. And besides, what would even be the point of sunsetting NGS so early in favor of a theoretical PSO3? Phantasy Star Crew is a very small development team, and I can almost guarantee that it'll have the same style of drip-fed content as PSO2 JP and NGS did, because it's the style that worked for SEGA for an entire decade, so you wouldn't like it anyway. Phantasy Star is a very small franchise compared to titans like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. And that's fine. There is no shame in that. Not everything has to be mainstream to be good. Digimon is an ant next to Pokemon, and I still love it to death. Sometimes when I read the opinions of people who are disenfranchised with the series, it feels like they are under the impression that Phantasy Star is much larger than it actually is. Even though the franchise has been absent outside of Japan throughout all of 2010s. There are, of course, people who will say that NGS was such a fuck-up. It should have gotten an A-Realm Reborn treatment, but I think that's underplaying just how bad Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was. I seriously recommend watching NoClip's documentary on that topic, because NGS doesn't even come close. NGS was buggy, and server stability was really bad on launch, but the key problem really was that it just didn't have enough content. The devs expected players to play every single class and test around various multi-weapon combinations, but the player base just picked their favorite class and stuck with it without really experimenting much. I was one of those players. I picked Tector and didn't care to try the rest. You don't need to reboot the game to fix this issue. You just need to build on it, and that's exactly what the devs did. We're about to celebrate the game's 5th anniversary, which will start off an explosive year for NGS and a new story arc. You don't get this far by being a failure, and saying that this is just to hold us over for a little while longer is just moving the goalpost. NGS will sunset when the game is finished, just like PSO2, PSU, and PSO did before. But that's it for the video. I hope you found it illuminating. And if you have any more questions, or know of other rumors you might want me to look into, feel free to ask in the comments. Combating misinformation is very important, so feel free to like the video to boost it in the algorithm. Until next time, I'll see you in-game. Take care!